So if you are anything like me, I have a to read list. It's about 1.5 miles long and growing by the second. And I never actually make much of a dent in it because I'm constantly just picking up a book, like, oh, well, that looks good, and just diving right in. It's very much a spontaneous kind of decision. And I guess where I'm going with that is that I love to browse the library shelves, and that's usually how I pick out what I'm going to read next, which certainly makes the present times all the more challenging. Um, but never fear, I have put together a list of recommendations that might pique your interest. I took a few laps around the library and just kind of pulled a few things that jumped out at me, or things that I've read and really enjoyed, or some new titles that I was super excited about and just wanted to share with you. These are all titles from our adult fiction collection, and with that, we'll just jump right in. So lately I've been in the mood for light or comforting reads, or a bit of both, honestly. And for me, that kind of means rereading an old favorite, like Pride and Prejudice, or books that call back to something that kind of feeling that you get when you read those books. So first up, I have To Have and to Hoax by Martha Waters, and I have been likening this to The Office meets Jane Austen, which is such an ungodly combination, but it works for whatever reason. Um, so we've got our main characters. They have met, they've fallen in love, they've gotten married, and now we're 5 years in and they no longer speak to each other. They've had the mother of all fights, and they've taken to pranking each other. So it's like a series of escalating pranks of one trying to outdo the other and also trying to get the other to admit that they still care. So it's very much a will they, won't they kind of story, but it's full of hijinks and just kind of absolute silliness. And, check that one out if you're up for a good humorous read. Next, I have a book that I was just super excited to find. I was just wandering the shelves and kind of plucked it up and I was like, ooh! So this is The 100-Foot Journey by Richard C. Murray. And I was so excited to find it because I have seen the film adaptation of it and I absolutely love the film. And I guess I didn't even realize it was a book, so this is why it's such a fun surprise for me. It's about food and what's stuff to love. But this is the story of an Indian family fleeing a tragic loss and an act of violence. And so they uproot their whole lives and they settle in a teeny tiny village in the French Alps. And they decide to open a Indian restaurant across the street from a really fancy French restaurant. And the owner of that restaurant is kind of snooty and snobby and everything like that. So it's essentially a journey of food, love, and understanding those who are different from ourselves, and also it's about food. So extra win. And then the next story, quick disclaimer, I have a deep distrust of chickens. With beady eyes, I just don't trust what's going on behind them. But that does not stop me from wanting to read this next story, Barn 8 by Deb Olin Unferth. And what she's done here is she's taken something that's seemingly mundane and she's just turned it into an absolutely wild heist story. So at the center of the story are two auditors for the U.S. egg industry, and they conjure up a plot to steal like 1 million chickens overnight, and they, of course, put together a band of misfits and, kind of a ragtag team. And, of course, things go wildly wrong. Because, of course, they're stealing 1 million chickens. So this is a great story. It just kind of takes something kind of regular, but turns it into something wild and outrageous and fun. So check out Barn 8 by Deb Olin Unferth if that's kind of your speed, or if you want to try something new. Next, I have 88 Names by Matt Ruff. A couple years ago, I read and absolutely loved Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. And this book kind of gives me a similar kind of feel. It takes us into the world of elite online role-playing games. And our main character has built this career around being like the ultimate game guide. He'll get you the big character and he'll give you all the fancy gears and bells and whistles. And he'll walk you through the games and take you to where you need to go. But an encounter with one particularly wealthy client, things start to games start to blend into reality, and it's kind of like this mystery and suspense story at the same time. And so, but excuse the cliche, but it was on the cover flap, and it's just begging to be said. John realizes reality has no reset button. So check out 88 Names if you're in for a good science fiction kind of suspense game story. And my last two, these are just kind of genuine feel-good books. The first, we have The Best of Adam Sharp by Graham Smithson. And so this is a book about a man who had had passions and chances in his youth, but he didn't quite take them. So now, as time passed, he's kind of living this contented life, But at the back of his mind is always the question, what if? What if I had taken this chance when I'd had the opportunity? And now, out of nowhere, the past comes up again, and he's got the opportunity to take a second leap. So will he? And last but not least, I have The Big Finish. See what I did there? By Brooke Fossey. So this is a story of an 80-something curmudgeon, Duffy, just trying to get along and keep his place in the assisted living center. So he doesn't have to go move into the crusty nursing home down the street. And his roommate also happens to be his best friend, Carl. And one night, Carl's granddaughter sneaks in through their window, and Duffy finds himself just kind of getting sucked into her world and helping her move through her trouble and gearing up for shenanigans. So it's a story of like found family and also just shenanigans. It's just a delight. So that's it for this week. These are all the highlights that I have for you. All these books are available to be checked out, and all you have to do is give us a call or place a hold online, and we will take